Hey, it's your boy Easy, and on today's episode of Easy Opens, we're going to be taking a look at the SH Figuarts Street Fighter V Ryu action figure. So let's go ahead and get this figure free from its plastic prison, take a look and see what we think about Ryu. Alright, so here's Ryu fresh out the box with his accessories. Now, he comes with 2 sets of hands, 3 faces, and a Hadouken, a stand for the Hadouken, and 2 pieces of cardboard with a really cool picture painted on each to use as a diorama. Ryu made his first appearance in 1987 in the original Street Fighter fighting game and has since gone on to be the main character in every Street Fighter game since then, with the exception of probably the fighting game based on the American movie of Street Fighter, where Guile was the main character for some reason. However, Ryu has also made appearances in other fighting games, and just other games, but other fighting games specifically, such as Marvel vs. Capcom, as well as one of the Super Smash Brothers, I believe. And not only that, but he is a huge recognizable icon in video game pop culture, due mostly to the fact that Street Fighter II was freaking huge and was most everyone's introduction to the character, and was mine as well. And since then, I've been a huge fan of Street Fighter, and I'm super excited that SH Figuarts are going to be releasing more and more action figures of these characters. So let's go back and take a look at more of the accessories that comes with Ryu. Now, he comes with 2 sets of hands, one set that's just fists, and then one set that are open hands. You really, at first when I saw this, I was thinking, oh man, this is not really a lot of accessories, but you don't really need a lot with Ryu because he's either punching you or he's trying to do a Hadouken, basically. So really that's the only 2 kind of hands that you need, and with the open hands you can get a little bit more versatile with the posing and stuff. So I kind of have to forgive them on that, because you don't really need him to have a holding, a gripping hand or anything, because he doesn't have a sword or any kind of weapons. So I think we're good on that. The faces are pretty good as well. The likeness is pretty good. This particular figure is still based on the Street Fighter V appearance of Ryu, but Ryu has a look that's kind of, I don't know how to say it. It's it's not vanilla, but it's pretty uniform throughout all the games. There are some subtle differences, like a longer bandana or his short spiky hair, which is kind of represented here a little bit. But I think Figuarts did a good job of making an amalgamation of amalgamation of all how Ryu looks in a bunch of the games, to where this is kind of a general Ryu look, and he is kind of a general figure overall, but they did a good job of it. And with the faces, you get the straight face, the no emotion, and then kind of just focused, and then you get a side-eyed gritting face, and then you get an open mouth yelling face. And those are all really rad. They look great. And the Hadouken looks awesome. It's just got some white and blue kind of clear translucent plastic, and it comes with its own clear stand to hold it in the air, and that's really cool. And then he comes with 2 diorama pieces. Now, the diorama piece looks like a stage from the video game, and it's a really cool idea, and I'm really I guess I'm glad that they are doing it. I don't even know how I feel about these. It's a great idea, but I don't think it's executed the best way, but I really don't have any other solutions as to how they could make that better. But it's really rad that they give us that, because they don't have to do that. So it's just a little bit of extra added value to this package, and I'm all for it. So, I mean, the things they can give us, I'm all about that. As long as it's not making the price go up, that's fantastic. So, yeah, there you go. So Ryu stands at 6 inches tall and is in a 1/12 scale of action figure. So let's go ahead and take a look and see how he measures up to some other figures that you might have in your collection. So here he is with Figma's Ren figure and SH Figuarts Senkocho Seiho's Kamen Rider double figure. Here he is with the Bandai Legacy Gold Ranger figure and NECA's Raphael figure. Here he is with Marvel Legends Ghost Rider figure and Storm Collectibles Sub-Zero action figure. Now here he is with the Soda M. Bison, Balrog, Vega, and Sagat action figures. Here he is next to the Soda Ryu figure. And here he is next to the SH Figuarts Cammy and Rashid action figures. So let's go ahead and talk about the paint and the sculpt and all that stuff. Now, if you're familiar with SH Figuarts, you know that they do quality work, and very rarely do they skimp or like just don't meet expectations, very rarely. And this Ryu figure is no exception. They kill it with everything, the paint, the detailed, and the sculpt. And this is a great, fantastic looking figure. It looks just like it walked off the screen and onto my shelf, which I've said before and is what I always go to SH Figuarts for, because they are fantastic at doing that. And it's really nice to have a company that you can pretty much like have brand loyalty with, because you know that they're going to do that. And again, this is no exception with this figure. The muscle definition in his arms looks great. The all the wrinkles and the gi are fantastic to illustrate movement and flowiness of the garment. The looks on his face sculpt is fantastic. And the sculpt overall is great, because even though the box says that this is from Street Fighter V, and yes, I mean, I can see that it is definitely illustrated from or taken from Street Fighter V, but the way that they did it, it works on a level where it can be a basic general Ryu as well. And I'm really glad they went that route, because that's gonna appeal to a much wider audience than just Street Fighter V fans. The paint is fantastic and flawless. It looks so good. They did a really good job on the shading, and to where it looks kind of dirty, but also just kind of worn. Like it's, I don't know. It looks really good. And then the plastic that the upper part of the gi on the torso is made of a pliable plastic. So it kind of gives it this weird texture that kind of amplifies like the vividness of the character, like if that makes any sense. And I just love it. I think they did a fantastic job with this, and the paint on the arms and the skin tones and everything looks flawless, and I have no complaints or any kind of like, improvements that they could have done on this figure. I think they nailed it as far as sculpt and paint. So there you go. Now let's go take a look at the articulation that you're gonna get out of this Ryu action figure. All right, so let's take a look at the articulation that you're gonna get out of this Ryu action figure. So let's start with the head. So his head is on a ball joint, and you get 360 rotation at the neck. He can look up that far. He can look down a real good distance. And you also can take off his head and lobotomize him, or at least the top of his head. And you can actually take off his whole entire head and replace it with another Ryu head. And then you also would just put the hairpiece back on, and then there you go. Now his arms will go up about that far. The shoulder is on a 360 rotation joint, and you get full rotation there. He does have double jointed elbows. You can see that. There you go. And his wrists are on a joint that has 360 rotation. You can get side to side, up and down movement out of the wrists. And there you go. And then you can also remove the hands and replace them with the additional hands. Let's see. Then moving on to the legs, he can kick out. Let's get him straight a little bit. He can kick out that far. His leg does have a swivel joint. It's kind of weird looking when you do it, but you can get 360 rotation out of the leg. And it also does have a thigh swivel. His legs, I believe, are just single jointed, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but it looks like it's single jointed, and they go back that far. His ankle is on a pivot, so you get full 360 rotation at the ankle. He does have actually a I guess that would be a thigh cut swivel. You can't see it; it's hidden by the pants, but you can move his leg as well. And he does have toe articulation, so you can get a little bit extra. Let's get that in focus. You can get a little bit extra movement in the toes. And let's see, he can stretch his legs out pretty far. Oh, and his legs go forward. Let me do that. His legs go forward that far. Now, he does have articulation at the waist. You got 360 rotation there, and he does he have an ab crunch? Yes, I think he does, but it's a little inhibited by the gi. I just lost his head. Oh, let's grab that. So it's kind of inhibited by the gi, but you could still get some movement out of his ab crunch as well. But yeah, there you go. That's going to be all the articulation you're going to get out of the SH Figuarts Ryu action figure. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm a huge fan of Street Fighter, and ever since I was a kid, I wanted these characters as figures on my shelf. So I had the G.I. Joe figures, I had the Soda figures, and when SH Figuarts said that they were going to be making their own versions of these characters, I got so excited because SH Figuarts is one of my favorite toy lines, and Street Fighter is one of my favorite video game franchises. And so, you know, the two good things come together, like peanut butter and chocolate. You know, the best of both worlds. And it's like, yeah, I got super hyped about it, and am still super hyped about it, having the figure finally in my hands, and I am super excited about what's going to come out of this line based on this one figure alone. This figure is fantastic. If you're not familiar with SH Figuarts, they do 9 out of 10 times fantastic work, and this figure is no exception. He's got all the great articulation you could expect out of an SH Figuarts figure. He's got the detail in the paint and in the sculpt to where he looks fantastic and looks like a premium action figure, I guess you could say. And my favorite thing about this figure is that he goes really well with Marvel Legends, the Soda figures, and D-Art's Mega Man. So you can reenact, you know, different versions of the Street Fighter games with this figure. You can, you know, have some scenes with the Marvel Legends characters mixed with Ryu, so you can have the Marvel vs. Capcom stuff going on. Same thing with Mega Man. You could throw that in there too, and then also you maybe even could throw in some SH Figuarts Super Mario Brothers and have your Super Smash matches, you know, in some photos or whatnot. So I think SH Figuarts did an amazing job with this character, or excuse me, with this figure, and making it such a universal looking Ryu, if that makes any sense. Basically what I'm saying is that he can go with anything, that he's not just strictly that Street Fighter V look. And that's really awesome to me, and I love it because, again, like I've said, this figure looks like he jumped right off the game, out of the screen, onto my shelf. And that's one thing I always look for in action figures and always want, and SH Figuarts usually meets my expectation in that regard, and this figure is no exception. Now, I can't wait to get my hands on the other figures and see what they're going to do, and I'm hopefully going to be all in on this line, but I'm pretty sure there's a couple characters I might skip on just, you know, for money purposes, but for the most part, I'm going to be all in on this line, and I'm super excited about it, and highly recommend this character. If you're going to just buy one of these figures, I would definitely recommend getting Ryu, because again, he is like he basically is the titular character of Street Fighter, and this is a great figure to have to go with anything that you want to do, because he's kind of a general fighter guy too as well. He can work in that regard, so you can just have him in some general fight scenes if you wanted. So there's a lot of versatility to be had in this figure, and I think that SH Figuarts probably knew that going into it, and did a really good job making this character be simultaneously, I don't want to say generic, but I guess universal, in the sense that he could be, you know, whatever you wanted to be, but also he's very specifically Ryu in all of Ryu's fashion and character. And so I think they did a fantastic job again. And again, I highly recommend this character if you're a fan of the video games, if you're a fan of action figures, if you're a fan of SH Figuarts, whatever the case may be. I don't think you'll be disappointed with this Ryu action figure. All right, y'all. Well, that's going to do it for me today. Thanks again so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more of me, be sure to subscribe to my channel. And if for some reason you want to hear more from me, you can do that by going to the links below in the description page. And you can follow them to my podcast, where we have Turtle Soup, where a friend and I talk about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles every other week. And we have Daydream Nation, where a friend and I talk about a different record every other week as well. Well, that's going to do it for me today. Again, thanks so much for watching, and be sure to check back here often for more opening goodness right here on Easy Opens. Else time.